most people think building wealth is one long, smooth ramp where every dollar you save feels about the same as the last one. It isn't. It's a staircase, and there are 5 specific steps where the ground under you actually changes, where money stops doing one job and quietly starts doing a different one. And here's the strange part. At each of these 5 levels, the thing you worry about changes completely. The fear that kept you up at $40,000 isn't even on your mind at $400,000, because a brand new one has replaced it. Nobody warns you that the worries upgrade right along with the balance. So I'm going to walk you through all 5, using real numbers for where American households actually stand, and I'll tell you the one move that matters most at each step. See if you can spot exactly which one you're standing on right now, because the advice that gets you up the next stair is different depending on where your feet are. I'm Mike, a regular guy who reached financial freedom on an ordinary income. This channel is where I explain the money stuff nobody ever sat us down and explained, the way I'd explain it to a friend across the kitchen table. If that's your thing, hit subscribe. Before the 5 levels, one number to hold in your head so you know where everyone sits. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of American households, the median net worth in this country is about $193,000. Half of all households are below that, half above. That single number is going to make a couple of these levels surprising, because the place where your life changes the most is not where you guess. The first level is $100,000, and it matters for a reason that has nothing to do with the number looking nice. At $100,000 invested, something crosses over for the first time in your life. Your money starts out-earning your own effort. Here's the math. $100,000, growing at a normal 7%, earns you about $7,000 in a year. If you're saving $500 a month, you're adding $6,000 a year. So right around this point, for the first time ever, your money contributes more than you do. You've quietly hired a worker who never sleeps, never asks for a raise, and outproduces you from day one. That's why the first 100,000 feels so brutally slow and the ones after it speed up. Getting from $0 to $100,000 might take you 9 years of saving. The jump from there to $300,000 takes closer to 9 more. But now you're only supplying part of the fuel because your money supplies the rest. The psychological shift here is the important part. Up to this point, saving felt like pushing a boulder uphill with nothing pushing back. At $100,000, the boulder starts rolling with you. The trap at this level is the one that destroys more 6-figure starts than any market crash, which is cashing it out when you change jobs. Roughly a third of people empty a retirement account when they switch employers. And that $100,000 left alone for 30 years was worth nearly $1 million. Your move at this level is simple and boring. Protect the machine you just finished building. Never cash out, always roll over, and keep feeding it. At every level, the question quietly changes. The second level is around $250,000 to $300,000, and this is the one nobody makes videos about because it isn't glamorous. It's the most important step for your actual daily life, and here's why. Remember that the median household sits at $193,000. So when you cross $250,000 in net worth, you have quietly passed the halfway point of the entire country. But the real change isn't bragging rights. It's that you cross the line from fragile to stable. Below this level, one genuinely bad event, a job loss stacked on a medical bill stacked on a car dying, can wipe you back to zero. At this level, for the first time, you have enough of a cushion that a bad year is a setback instead of a catastrophe. The psychological shift is enormous and underrated. The fear at lower levels is survival, which is the low, constant hum of what happens if everything goes wrong at once. Somewhere in this range, that hum goes quiet. You still have money stress, but it changes character from "can I survive this" to "am I optimizing this?" That is one of the largest jumps in quality of life on the entire staircase, and it happens at a number nobody celebrates. The danger at this level is the opposite of the last one. It's not quitting, it's coasting. People hit stable, feel the survival fear switch off, and relax the saving that got them there. Right at the moment their money is finally strong enough to do serious work. Your move here is to hold your savings rate steady even though the pressure is gone, because this is the launch point, not the finish line. The third level is $1 million, And I need to reframe what this number actually means, because the culture has lied to you about it. $1 million does not make you rich anymore, and treating it like a finish line is how people get in trouble. Part of that is just time doing its work on the number. $1 million in 1990 had the purchasing power of well over 2 million today. So the million your parents talked about as the definition of wealthy is, in real terms, a different and much larger number than the million you're chasing. The word stayed the same while the meaning shrank. What a million actually buys you now is a floor. At $1 million invested, a safe withdrawal of about 4% a year generates roughly $40,000 of income that shows up whether you work or not. For a lot of households, $40,000 a year of passive income stacked on top of Social Security later covers the basic cost of survival: housing, food, utilities, insurance. That is the real meaning of the first million. It's the level where your money can keep you alive without you. You may not be able to live your dream lifestyle on it, but the lights stay on, the mortgage gets paid, and you eat entirely from money you already have. That's not nothing. That's the difference between working because you have to and working because you choose to. And it's the first time that choice appears at all. The shift here is that money stops being about the next purchase and starts being about buying back your own time. The danger is also brand new. At $1 million, the threat to your wealth stops being that you don't have enough and starts being taxes, fees, and your own fear talking you into playing it too safe. A single percent in fees on $1 million is $10,000 a year, quietly gone. Your move at this level is to stop thinking only about growing the pile and start protecting it from the slow leaks. Because at this size, the leaks are finally big enough to matter. At every level, the question quietly changes. The fourth level is around $2 to $2.5 million, and this is where you cross into genuinely rare territory, though it may not feel the way you expect. Here are the real numbers, and they surprise almost everyone. To be in the top 10% of all American households, you need a net worth of about $1.94 million. So somewhere past 2 million, you're not in the comfortable middle anymore. You're in the top slice of the entire country. At a safe withdrawal rate, 2.5 million throws off about $100,000 a year without you touching the principal, which for most families is their entire lifestyle covered, not just survival. And there's a wrinkle in that top 10% number that changes how you should read your own progress. The threshold depends heavily on age. To crack the top 10% in your late 20s or early 30s takes only around $370,000, because your peers haven't accumulated much yet. By your late 50s, that same top 10% line has climbed to nearly 3 million because everyone else had decades to save too. So the same dollar figure can make you exceptional at 32 and merely average at 62. If you're young and already past a few of these levels, you're further ahead than the raw number suggests. And the smartest thing you can do with that lead is not touch it, because a small edge this early is enormous by the end. But here's the part that surprises people who reach it. It rarely feels like arriving, because the people at this level usually got here by being careful, and careful is a hard habit to switch off. Many of them keep living like they're still climbing, worrying about money out of pure reflex while sitting on more than 90% of a country. The psychological work at this level isn't financial, it's permission, learning that it's safe to actually use some of it. The danger at this level is a set of expensive problems that lower levels never face. This is where a lawsuit can genuinely take a piece of what you built, where a big pre-tax account starts creating tax problems in retirement, where the wrong beneficiary form can misdirect real money. Your move here shifts from building to defending. This is the point where an umbrella insurance policy, an actual estate plan, and a tax strategy stop being optional because you now have enough that a single unguarded event can cost you a fortune. The fifth level isn't a fixed number at all, and that's exactly the point. It's your number, and it's the only one on the staircase that's different for every single person watching. It's the level where your investments can cover your entire lifestyle forever, which means work becomes optional. And you calculate it not from some chart, but from your own spending. Take what you spend in a year and multiply it by 25. That's your number, live on $50,000 a year, and your finish line is $1.25 million. Spend $100,000 a year, and it's $2.5 million. Same freedom, wildly different price tag, and the entire difference is your own cost of living. This is why two people with identical net worths can be in completely different places. Someone with $1.5 million who lives on $55,000 a year is financially free, while their neighbor with the identical $1.5 million who spends $150,000 a year is not even close. Your freedom was never really about the size of the pile. It's about the gap between what the pile produces and what your life costs, which means you can reach this level from both directions, by growing the investments or by shrinking what you need. That second direction is the one almost nobody takes seriously, and it's the faster one. Every $10,000 a year you permanently cut from your spending doesn't just save you $10,000. It lowers your finish line by $250,000, because that's how much less pile you need to generate it forever. Trimming a bloated $90,000 lifestyle down to a comfortable $70,000 pulls your number from $2.25 million to $1.75 million, which is $500,000 you no longer have to earn, invest, and protect. Working longer moves you toward the finish line from one side. Wanting less moves the finish line toward you, and it counts just as much. The shift at this final level is the biggest of all. Money stops being something you earn and becomes something that buys back the one thing you can't earn more of, which is time. The danger, and it's a real one that I've covered before, is that people who spent 40 years saving often can't make themselves stop, and they keep trading their best remaining years for a bigger number they'll never spend. Your move at this level is the hardest one on the whole staircase. It's to actually change behavior from earning to living, because nothing about crossing your number makes it feel different on the day it happens. So let me pull the whole staircase together, because the pattern across all five is the real lesson. At $100,000, your money starts working harder than you do. Around $250,000, you cross from fragile to stable and the survival fear goes quiet. At $1 million, your money can cover your survival without you. Around $2 million, you quietly enter the top 10% and the job switches from building to defending. And at your own personal number, work becomes a choice instead of a requirement. Notice what actually moves across those 5 steps. It was never really the money. At every level, the money bought you a different feeling, from surviving to stability to security to options to freedom. And at every level, the biggest threat to your progress was not the market. It was a specific mistake that felt reasonable at the time, cashing out early, coasting after stability, playing too safe at $1 million, leaving yourself exposed at 2, and refusing to ever stop at the top. At every level, the question quietly changes. The only thing that stays the same is that almost nobody updates their behavior to match the step they're actually standing on. And that gap is where most of the damage happens. Here's your one job after this video. Figure out honestly which of these 5 steps you're on right now, and then do the single move for that step, not the step you wish you were on, and not the one you left behind. If you're building your first 100,000, the whole game is protecting the machine and never cashing out. Once you're comfortably past stable, the move flips to refusing to coast. And if you're near your own personal number, the move is the terrifying one, which is learning to spend the freedom you spent your whole life building. If this was useful, hit subscribe. This is what I do every week. Plain English, nothing to sell you. Next video, I'm finally covering the account that quietly beats every other one in the tax code, and almost nobody uses it the way it was designed. It's the health savings account, the only account that can be tax-free 3 separate ways: going in, growing, and coming out. Most people drain it every year on small pharmacy bills, instead of letting it compound into a 6-figure tax-free medical fund. The rules change significantly at 65, and there's a timing mistake around Medicare that can lock you out of it permanently. I'll walk through all of it. I'm Mike. I'll see you in the next one.